This is departure from Sandakan, attempt number 2. 6:30 in the morning again. It looks like Sharon and Lindsay have turned round already for some reason. I'm not sure what that's all about. It's pretty shitty conditions trying to get out of this river mouth, which is exactly what it is. So we've got current from the river we're running with, but then you've got waves that are coming in the opposite direction, probably due to the sort of prevailing wind. So it's very, very bouncy leaving here. And obviously with our new deck fitting, I'm on tenterhooks. We can actually see just south of us where the kind of river ends, and so the rest of the sea begins, and it's much flatter there because of course it's protected by the headland. However, it's very shallow there. It goes down to 1.5 meters, and there's even a note on the chart saying less depth reported, so just have to be a little bit careful. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to put up with this constant hobby horsing for a little while longer yet. Not much to report so far. Motor sailing with a changeable current, so it's now with us. So we're hitting 6 knots. We've just got the Yankee out just to stabilise us because we've got the wind coming from behind us. A little bit rolly, we're pitching a bit. Of course, the main concern is how well that deck fitting is doing on the mizzen. It seems okay so far, touch wood, but I haven't put the mizzen out, and I've kind of purposely done that because I'm a little bit nervous. Perhaps we'll get it out just to try help stabilise the boat a little bit more. But otherwise, just had Escom came over to say hello and take lots of pictures, which is part of their protocol apparently. It's not just selfies, it is pictures which they distribute among the other boats, and really it's obviously just a check-up to make sure we're all doing okay, which we are.
Finished the fish off yesterday, and normally I would be fishing. However, we are going along the coast past some estuaries. It's very murky water, and it's also very shallow. From experience, I've learned that the only thing I ever catch in these conditions is barracuda. We don't actually like the taste of barracuda. It's a nasty old fish, so we're going to have to do without any fish today. But we're hoping when we go around the next corner, start heading more south and we're away from these estuaries, the water will clear up, it gets a bit deeper, and that hopefully is where we're going to find the mackerel. Yeah, so to get into Dewhurst Bay you have to go across a bit of a bar, sandbar, silt bar I guess, and we got to about 1.6 metres of water beneath our keel, but this was the same as 2 years ago, so you just got to be a little bit careful as you come in. Navionics is pretty good. Got it pretty much right, and we were coming in on a falling tide, so we didn't want to waste any time to get as much depth as we could, as much water under the keel as we could. We're nearly here, so in a mile we'll have the anchor down, I hope.
Forgot how much I love this anchorage. Actually, I didn't at all. I knew exactly what we were coming in for, and it's basically the exit point of the Kinabatangan, which is where we came. I keep saying last year, it wasn't, was it? It was 2 years ago. Anyway, it's a great spot, it really is, because you've got this bright orange water, which is obviously the wash off from the river. It's not dirty, it's just all those lovely rich nutrients coming off the rainforest and feeding all those fishes and reefs out there. We're only literally a mile from the entrance to the sea, but we're tucked away in such a way that if there is any swell, and there was a little bit today, not much, then we are protected by it. But my question is, when you anchor at the mouth of a river, which can be quite tidal, where do you drop your hook? Do you drop it facing into the current against you, or do you anticipate the change and point that way? Or do you point 90 degrees? Well, anyway, that's what we did. Just stuck it 90 degrees, so when we do swing, we're only going to be swinging 90 degrees. But, as I say, there is a kind of prevailing current, and actually it kept switching when we were out there. But as we came in, there was a good 1.5 knots against us, which always is a good test of your autopilot. I switched over to hand steering in the end. But yeah, it's just such a peaceful spot, and of course you can hear all the cicadas in the hills over there, in the trees, sorry. And then there's a little camp, and I think it's a fishing camp, but that's where Escom go and have their barbecued fish. If we ever catch barracuda, we give it to Escom. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone caught anything today, so they won't be having a barbecue tonight. Time to relax, I think. It's 12:30 in the morning. We both went to bed quite early, and I already feel like I've had a full night's sleep, but still a bit tired. Anyway, I know you can't really see me here, but that doesn't matter because it's not what I want to show you that's kind of woken us up. It's what I want you to hear, because Liz came in and said, "What is that noise?" And I said, "Oh, it's frogs." She said, "But you can't hear it outside." So I went up on deck, and sure enough, they're not frogs. Well, maybe they are. But anyway, have a listen to this. We'd be very interested to know what this is. Bear in mind, we've got a freshwater river feeding into, obviously, saltwater sea. Now, you've heard of snapping shrimp, which is a sound phenomenon that you can hear when you're at anchor. But we have never heard this before coming from inside the boat. Liz was very worried it might be an electrical fault, but I'm pretty sure these are creatures in the water. Anyway, let's see if we can pick them up on the microphone.
Two years ago we were on the Sandakan, which comes out here. But while we were upriver, we were out for the evening, came back, and there was something the size of a canoe, small boat, wrapped round the front, and it took two guys in two boats to get it off. And so this is very reminiscent of this. Now that log's the size of a car, and you managed to manoeuvre the boat round with me pushing. And it was along the side and it was stuck there, so I thought, I know what, I'll try pulling. Pulled it out of the water and bang, got rid of it. Yeah.
Quite a fast current.
Very fast. You're going to have to motor forward as I bring the anchor up.
Yeah, what do you reckon, 2-3 knots?
Easily. Look at it.
That's very exciting for 6:30 in the morning. Huge log there. Had to turn the boat on its side in order to dislodge it, but eventually I think Liz just lifted it up. So yeah, so we're coming back out of the river mouth, and we have quite a lot of current with us. It's a just on a falling tide, and we're about to hit spring low water, which always makes me a bit nervous when we exit this estuary, because it goes down to under 3 meters on chart datum anyway, and we got pretty low yesterday, and that was on high water. Even though it's springs though, it's one of those funny double tide type jobs. So the one good thing is that if any of us get stuck, we have at least got water coming up underneath us to lift us off again. But as it turned out, we're actually the second last to leave. So we've got Icy Red in front, who have a deeper draft than us. So we're basically going to follow them. At the moment, we are doing 7.2 speed over ground and 5.6 through the water. So that shows you how much current we have running with us. Now, I know that in a lot of places in the world, the tide runs a lot faster, including in the UK. But for us here in Southeast Asia, that's a fairly significant speed. Anyway, I'm going to get back on it. That's a fairly harmless motor sail at the moment. Not much swell really. Boat's tipping a bit, but as you can see, we've got the Yankee out, And we've got the mizzen out. This is the first time I've got it out since replacing that deck fitting, but the wind's on the other side, so hopefully not too much strain and pressure on that fitting. Yeah, it is still there. The only thing that came up in conversation this morning on the VHF was a suggestion that perhaps we go to a little bit further down, because today's quite a short hop of only about 40 miles. Unfortunately, the next anchorage is right on the eastern tip, and my thinking is that with this north easterly current that we get, or rather the swell, it's completely exposed. There's no protection whatsoever. I think it could be very uncomfortable. But also from a security point of view, it puts us very exposed as well. The other concern is the next anchorage after that is one that we have been to before, and that's actually on the south coast of this eastern tip. And when we last anchored there, both times it was rather bouncy like this because there was weather coming up from the south. And of course, this is a different time of year this year. We're not entirely sure what the sea state's going to be like when we get round the corner. I'd like to think this northeasterly swell continues, in which case we'd have protection, but it's a headland and it may all change when we get round the corner. Anyway, we're going to continue to head to Tambasan, which is the anchorage in the rally that a couple of boats ran aground on. So my suggestion was, rather than coming in from the west and trying to exit the east, we should go around and come in from the east and exit by the east, thus avoiding that very shallow patch, which we still haven't really worked out exactly where it is, because where those two boats ran aground wasn't the bit that was marked as shallow according to other waypoints. We are now entering the west side of Tambasan. It's one of our favourite little anchorages, and when we come in this way it takes us past the fishing village, which is actually quite a hive of activity normally, although I haven't seen much activity today. Anyway, there's not much happening really. It's a bit drizzly now, so I'm going to put the camera away. I don't think there'll be much to see until we drop the hook.
So we were entering on the east side, aren't we?
We're entering the west side. No, the east side, you're right.
You said the west side.
Oh, sorry, yes, we're entering the east side. It was my suggestion as well. So if you watched our series on the Sabah rally 2 years ago now, this is the area where a couple of boats ran aground, and Brian, who's up ahead, very quickly went 15 metres to 2, and that's the dog leg I seem to remember having to avoid. So we're going to drop our hook just here. So the fishing village is behind, then we've got the big police boat anchored just there so you can keep an eye on us, and this is where the river sort of opens out, so there's plenty of space for all of us to anchor quite safely, I think. It's kind of ironic to think that this is, on the one hand, one of our favourite anchorages, one of the most beautiful anchorages. I mean, just look at this. This channel pretty much points east to west, and we can kind of get a glimpse of the sun going down, and hopefully this morning the sunrise as we leave, and the sound of the cicadas. It is truly tranquil, and yet, thinking about it, this is possibly one of the world's most dangerous anchorages, because not 20-30 miles over the horizon in an easterly direction, of course, are where the problems begin, with some of those unruly islands, and the threat, of course, of terrorism is very real. There have been talks of factions being found on this coastline around this area, and we are probably only 20 miles away from the most eastern point of this area as well, so we are very close to danger. But of course, all of that is allayed by the fact that we have Escom with us, and we have the big patrol boat there. We've got the rib that was just anchored over there, and throughout the night they'll be going up and down keeping an eye on us.